Howdy, friends. Hey, I'm with my buddy, James Parker. James, how you doing?
Great. How you doing, Julio?
I am doing well. And we are here in front of his van, and you work with what company?
Groundworks.
Groundworks
of Colorado.
What does Groundworks do?
We actually do several things. We do concrete lifting. We do foundation repair. We also do interior waterproofing, which is French drain systems with sump pumps. So a whole multitude of things, from supplemental beams to actually piering homes to stabilize them from a settlement.
All right, so when houses have foundation problems with walls in the crawl space or basement that are tipping, cracked, things that are heaved, stuff like that?
Those are things that we do. So yeah, okay. If you've experienced any type of where your doors or windows aren't closing properly, if you're having some issues where all of a sudden you heard a loud noise and a crack appeared in your foundation wall, definitely reach out to us.
All right, cool. I'm gonna ask you a bunch more questions. Let's go inside. All right, so we're inside now, and James actually met me at a house that one of my clients is purchasing to take a look at a very thin crack. It was horizontal, right?
Yeah.
On the house. It wasn't a thick crack. I saw it myself, but I don't do what you do. And he was very helpful in giving me his professional opinion of what was going on with that one. But let's talk about what you see most commonly when you go to homes in relation to foundations. So what would be the top, say, 3 or 4 situations that you deal with and your company deals with?
So usually when we get a call, especially when it comes to structural, the customer is experiencing something where they're like, you know, my door's not opening or closing, or I've got a window that's kind of stuck, or they see a crack that kind of looks like Zeus threw a lightning bolt in the middle of the drywall. It's going to be something that's very jagged looking. It's not on a straight line. When Mother Nature kind of cracks your house, it's not going to be uniform and straight. If it's something that, you know, is a normal settlement and is perfectly straight, that's generally not structural, something else is going on. So we're looking for that crack that looks like something that will occur in nature, because nature is actually what's affecting your house. Most of that is due to clay expansive soils. The soil gets wet, it swells up, and then it kind of heaves up and cracks the foundation. Mm-hmm. Then when it dries out, it relaxes, and then you get that depression. That's where the settlement comes in, and it creates a void. So we're kind of looking at those cracks to kind of see what's happened in that particular issue, and then how can we address it. The primary function that we're using to address when a house settles is we're going to use a pier. That's either going to be a push pier or helical pier.
A pier, to a lay person, is a boardwalk that goes into the ocean. What is a pier? Is it like a spear in a way, like it's metal rod?
Yes, it's a metal rod that's usually stainless steel in nature. What we're doing is that we're actually taking the load off of your house, and we're injecting these steel rods into the ground, and we're trying to achieve a certain pressure. The engineer has already come up with, based on where that is on soil samples and so on and so forth, what's the pressure we need to do to support the house to keep it from moving. Mm-hmm. So when we inject the rods into the ground, we're trying to achieve that pressure. Once we achieve that pressure, we're actually going to clip onto the footer of the foundation, mm-hmm. and then we're going to pressurize it and take the load off of the footer and put it onto the rod, and now that's what's supporting your home.
For what you just described, correct me if I'm wrong, if a house, say this is just the floor and it's dipping in a certain way, is that what you're talking about, how you would raise that side or that corner of the home with that type of method?
So what we're looking to do is ultimately first is to stabilize.
Okay.
Stabilization is key. If you're going to raise a home, that does require a little bit more work, because you actually have to excavate around the entire foundation due to friction. Dirt's going to provide friction. So if we were just putting that there and trying to lift, we would actually rip your house apart. So we want to, if we're going to attempt to lift, we're going to remove the dirt so that there's nothing obstructing it. And then, yes, we can actually lift that back up and get you to a quality of life that's going to be more flat as opposed to that downward slope.
Okay.
So yes, there's main goal is always stabilization first. Mm-hmm. Then the second goal is, if we can achieve lift 100%, we're going to do that.
Okay, so that's if the house maybe has dipped in an area that
yes.
you would lift. If not, and if the house isn't too bad, you just stabilize.
Yes.
And that keeps it from going further.
That is correct.
Okay.
We want to minimize any further damage.
When you do piering, and the piering would be downward, is like, how many piers is it like every 5 feet? Does it vary depending on the terrain, or what's that look like?
So there's some universal rules that you're looking at as far as the spacing goes. Mm-hmm. That can be regulated from state to state, and also the size of the house. Mm-hmm. So we come along, and the engineer is going to look at it. So if the house is, say, 50 feet long and 35 feet wide, We determine the spacing based on the size of the house. Is it 2-story? Is it 3-story? And then that determines how many piers we need to put on there in order to make sure that the house is going to be stable and not moving. So everything when it comes to piers is permitted. It's engineered with the state. Then it's signed off on. The plans are looked at, reviewed once that's put in place, because that becomes part of the structure of the home. So if you were looking to sell the home, like for your business, you would want to make sure that somebody in a government agency is regulated and saying, yes, this house is structurally sound. And we've altered the structure, but we've reinforced it.
Okay.
And for the work that we do, the piers do come with a lifetime warranty for the life of the home. So not just the life of the homeowner owning the house, but it is a transferable warranty that extends for the entire life of the house.
Okay, cool. All right, now let's say that we went into a home, just for the conversation, an older home, and we went into a basement or a crawl space, and we noticed that foundation wall is starting to lean inward a little bit. What would commonly be the way you rectify that type of situation?
So yeah, when you've got a foundation wall that's now tipping inward, there's a couple of different solutions that you can do. But the cause of that is, again, the clay expansive soil. So in this particular case, the soil is swelling up and pushing into the wall as opposed to, a downward force. It is an inward force. Mm-hmm. So in order to counteract that, we put in what we would call a wall anchor or wall brace. Both of them do the same thing. They're different, but they're similar. The anchor actually is a steel rod that is shot through the foundation. There's a steel plate on this side. The rod goes out into the person's yard where there's multiple plates that kind of make a T, and then you're making a sandwich. So you're torquing the rod to a certain specification to gradually bring the wall out. If you wanted to do a full wall plumb right away, same rules apply. You would have to excavate the dirt around it so that you remove the friction component, and then you can move the wall all at once. Or you can do it over a period of time, which is what most people opt for, because it's a gradual process, but it's the least invasive, does the least amount of damage to the home, where you're just gradually doing it over a period of years to get it back to as plumb as you possibly can. The braces are when you don't have access to be able to get the rods out into the yard. Mm-hmm. Some houses are built very close together, so you don't have the spacing to do that, especially if it's on the side of the house and you don't have the right to go into your neighbor's yard. So then you're actually using a steel I-beam that is anchored into the ground, and then it's braced into the house, and then we're using a bolt and brace system to correct the wall, and actually using the house to help out with that. Both do the same thing. One is less intrusive, where you can drive all over it and you just leave an access port for us to be able to maintain it. Mm-hmm. The other one is going to be a steel brace that's physically sitting on the exterior of the foundation. Some people do frame around it and box it out, but we do need access to be able to service those on an annual basis.
Okay. And once again, would that also have a lifetime transferable warranty?
100%. Those are lifetime warranty when we're working on that. And again, if there's ever any issue with it, we come out and we address it.
All right, let's talk about water intrusion. And let's say it's not from someone's gutters or downspouts being wrong. Say it's maybe high groundwater, or unfortunately that house is at the bottom of the hill in the neighborhood and it gets more of the runoff from the whole neighborhood. What type of solutions are available today?
So the solution that we always opt for is we do an interior basement gutter system. Layman's terms, it would be like an interior French drain. Mm-hmm. And then that is connected to a sump pump. Now, everyone thinks that the sump pump is what's doing the heavy lifting, but believe it or not, it's actually the drain. So you're actually going to put a drain around the interior edges of the foundation. So as the water comes down, you're actually letting it go into the house and you're controlling the flow. So the water would come down, actually get into the trenches, and then if the ground is at what we call 100% saturation, then the water actually makes its way along those trenches to the sump pump, and then the sump pump evacuates the water out and away from the home. So that is the premier system to use. Now, some people say, well, I don't want to live through a construction zone and have that broken up in my house. The problem with exterior French drain systems is, as we've discussed, you have clay expansive soil. When you're doing something on the outside, the clay soil, believe it or not, can end up clogging that system, so the water never enters into the system. Because clay, you make pots out of it. When it gets wet, water doesn't penetrate through it. So it literally can encapsulate your entire French drain system, rendering it 100% useless. And then the water just goes around it and then still ends up doing the same thing. By doing it on the inside, where we're going to remove parts of the slab flooring, we're going to put in crushed rock, membrane, the whole 9 yards, and then the water can do that, and we're managing the water and controlling where it goes.
Now, tell me, does your company do the encapsulations of basements?
We 100% do. We do encapsulations of basements and crawl spaces.
Okay. Why do people want to have that done? What's the purpose of that?
So the purpose can vary between the person. If you know that you have moisture that's coming into the home, it adds extra humidity. That extra humidity can create musty smells. It can create a microbial growth that can exist in the home that all of a sudden you're smelling like a weird odor or whatever. By doing a full encapsulation, the encapsulation materials that we use actually have microcide treatment on the back to prevent any microbial growth. We do a drainage matting so that we can control moisture flow so that water's not penetrating up in there. And when it's done, it's 20 millimeters thick, so it's not the 6 mil stuff you're going to get at Home Depot. It is tear resistant, scratch resistant. We also provide on that, depending on the level and the severity, the warranty can vary depending on what state you're in, between 25 years and 35 years on the warranty on that if there's an issue with it, we come out and we maintain that so that it's always done. But again, it's another way to turn a dirty space into what we call a conditioned space, to where you would be able to go down into your crawl space, which may be dirty now. You could go down in your stocking feet when it's done because it will be literally pristine, clean in nature, and it'll be a space that's conditioned like the inside of your home.
What does a encapsulated crawl space look like?
Oh my goodness, when encapsulated crawl space is done, it's almost something that's kind of like out of Willy Wonka. You would think that you're in like a marshmallow room, because we use an actual all white material because a lot of people want to put lights down there so it reflects the most. And plus it allows you to see all the way across it so it's clean, and it makes it a very light and vibrant type of a space.
So it's like a thick plastic on the ground, on the walls. Is it also above or just on the walls?
Just on the walls and on the ground. Once that's done, the stuff that's above you can insulate just for noise and stuff like that, but it totally turns your entire crawl space into something that's conditioned where it could be 25 degrees outside and you could be inside of your crawl space and it would be in the 60s.
What if someone has a section of like their sidewalk or their back patio or a section in their garage that's dipped some? What type of solutions would you guys be able to help them out with in that regard?
So we actually use a poly renewal foam lift.
Okay.
Where, unlike mud jacking, which most people are familiar with, that's where you're going to drill a large hole into the concrete and you're going to inject a mud slurry into it. And then that's going to actually gradually raise the concrete. I'm not here to knock what our competitors do, but the disadvantage to mud jacking is the reason your driveway sank in the first place is because of erosion. So if you're injecting hot, wet mud into something, eventually it's going to erode because it's just hot, wet mud. We actually use a foam which fills in all of the voids, and you can drive on it 15 minutes after it's done. It's erosion proof, so it doesn't erode in there. It's not anything that's going to be bad for the environment because it actually bonds with the concrete, so it's not affecting the earth. And we can lift as much as I've seen 5 and 10 inches on the driveway to restore the proper pitch. So the reason that you want to have proper pitch is you want to make sure that water is always sloping away from your home. And even in the inside of your garage, a lot of times if you've got that annoying pooling of the water when it's a snowstorm, you get out and you're like, I've got a water puddle in my garage. It's because your garage is no longer sloped. We can actually put the slope back in the garage so the water flows towards the garage door. And we also help seal the garage door so it keeps out the pesky critters from being able to get into your house. Not a 100% prevention, but definitely something that is an added benefit.
All right, talk to us about sump pumps. I know you guys do sump pumps, and usually we have a sump pump well in the corner of our basement. Some of us have a pump in it. Some of them just has a well that the builder never even put a pump in. When we get a torrential rain, which happens here every several years, we always know that me in real estate, some of my clients go, we got water in the basement. So, and maybe their sump pump failed. Maybe there wasn't one in the pit to begin with, but tell us about y'all's sump pumps and like what's maybe unique about what your offerings are, okay, with sump pumps.
So sump pump is, again, a mechanical system that should be, maintenance at least annually to make sure that it is working. So when you do get those torrential rains, you know that your house is safe and secure. So the pumps that we use a third horse, we use a half horse. A third horse, just to give you a hypothetical, can pump over 4,000 gallons of water an hour. So as long as it's plugged in and water's making its way to the basement, like what we talked about, using the interior gutter system, and it gets to the sump basin, it's going to evacuate that water up and out and away from your home. We also have systems where we build in what's called a triple safe. So that actually has a third horse and then a half horse and then a battery backup pump. So if the water level, let's say you live in an area where it's really excessive, like we have some folks that live along the Arkansas River south in Pueblo, their water table is extremely high. So they know that their pumps are doing a lot of heavy lifting. So they need that extra security. The triple safe battery backup system, that's wonderful because let's say your GFI outlet trips and you don't know about it. You actually have a battery backup that's designed to where that battery could pump if it ran nonstop for 6 hours, pumping 12,000 gallons of water if it had to do it. The other thing about that system is it now has an addition that you can add onto it called a Wi-Fi module, which actually plugs into the sump pump and it turns a dumb mechanical device into a smart device. So if you were to lose power and your GFI goes out and your battery pump kicks in, it becomes its own Wi-Fi router that does not have to be hooked up to your Wi-Fi because it becomes its own system. It will email you or text you, however you set it up on the app, that you've lost power at your house and you're running on your battery backup pump. And it will go off every time the battery activates. So it's just that good extra peace of mind. You have an ADT security system that can tie into their security system as well. Or you can just simply download the app and just know that it gives you that peace of mind that if something's going on with your sump system, you're going to know if you've lost power and you're running on your battery backup system. So a lot of companies will put in just a basic sump pump and then people are like, I never look at that thing. It's got spiders down there and they never take care of it. But in the time of a rain event, that's when you're going to want to know if it's working. So at minimum, you should definitely get your pump serviced, but you should also look into the fact that if you have active water constantly in your basin, if it were my home, I would want to make sure that I'd have that peace of mind with a battery backup system.
So James Parker's with Groundworks here in Colorado Springs, but they service way beyond Colorado Springs. Go ahead and rattle off like as much of the stuff as can come to your mind that you offer, that your company offers.
So one of the things that our company offers is we are one of the largest foundation repair waterproofing companies in the nation. When we come in and we do a project, we're not going to be in your house all day long. Where if you had to hire a plumber to do that system, they might be in your house for several weeks. We can generally get a sump pump project done in either a day or 2 days. If it's a large project that's a massive house, a week tops, but we're in and out fairly quickly and we can get those things. We take care of dealing with all of the stuff when it comes to dealing with the government, so you don't have to go sit down at the permit office or do all these things. We have people that are going to take care of all the steps. So the only thing you have to do is when you bring us on, we become your general contractor handling all aspects of the entire, project from start to finish. And then when the inspectors come in, they can definitely inspect it. One of the benefits to having a larger company is we have a no hassle policy when it comes to if there's an issue. We tell folks we have full quality control. That's part of my job is I'm quality control with our company. If there's an issue, we come out, we look at it. Let's say if a pier failed at your house. Our deal is we come out and we're like, yes, the pier failed. We send a crew out there at no cost to you, and we will actually maintain that pier, repressurize it, or if we have to, move it and put it someplace else, that all occurs on our dime so that we can take care of that. And when it comes to dealing with any type of making sure the products are quality, we have all of our products are in-house. So we don't have to worry about outsourcing it to somebody else. We don't generally have any hassles going, we have to wait several weeks before the materials come in. We have our own company called IMG that we get all of our supplies from. So they're all proprietary with what we deal with. They're specifically designed for our region. So it's not where somebody's going to a big box store and they're buying something and you're shoehorning it into a fit. Any solution that we do for any customer is custom. It is custom fit to tailor to your house, to the size of your house. We don't have to shoehorn anything in there. So when we come in, just know that it's going to be a customized solution to fit the need of your house, not something that was manufactured. It's kind of a blanket universal solution that we're trying to shoehorn in to make work for your home.
All right, so if walls are doing this, if walls are doing this, if the corner of your house is dipping, if your concrete is dropping, if water's coming in, call James Parker, call Groundworks, right?
Call Groundworks, and if there's an issue even after we install it, our warranty is no hassle. We'll send a crew out there and we'll make it right.
How can my friends reach you?
You can reach me direct at james.parker@groundworks.com, or you can shoot me a text message at area code 719-318-6804, and that's my direct cell phone number, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Hey, friends, that's my friend James Parker, Groundworks. You got anything you need that's below, you know how to reach him now. All right, thank you so much. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Julio.